In the midst of the console wars between Sega and Nintendo in the 1990s, along comes a game that would keep you entertained in the arcade for hours on end or until you could not afford to waste another penny. And that game was Street Fighter 2. Years before the controversy over fake pixelated blood that led to what is known today as the ESRB, Capcom led the way and Midway Games wanted to play. And so by seizing this opportunity, a revolutionary and entertaining interactive experience was birthed, and definitely had the upper hand when it came to the arcade fighting scene. Prior to the release of Mortal Kombat, the fighting genre of gaming was a bit lackluster in comparison, and Midway Games wanted to change that, even though they were mainly focused on making pinball machines and other type of arcade games. But nevertheless, they sought out to achieve success and had two people working on a fighting game that had to be completed within a year. They were, we know today as the creators of Mortal Kombat, Ed Boon, who worked as a programmer for the game, as well as John Tobias was an artist for the game and came up with the concept designs and storyline aspects. Along with them was another artist named John Vogel and the sound designer Dan Forden. You may know as the guy who shouts in the later games. The team initially envisioned a ninja-themed fighting game, but this idea was rejected by Midway, who actually wanted a game based on an upcoming movie that features Jean-Claude Van Damme, but that never came to fruition. It was only when Richard DeVizio, an actor who played as Kano in the game, convinced John Tobias to return to a prior concept that was similar to a game called Karate Champ, which released back in 1986, but this time it would have digitized actors, to which Midway Games then gave the green light to continue with the development. The main standard of the game, besides the digitized actors, was its edgy and more violent tone that the game was aiming for as development progressed, which included the concept of fatalities that stem from previous fighting games with the opponent while in a dazed state, you would then earn a free hit. The inspiration for the game's characters and stories were taken from Chinese mythology and movies like Big Trouble in Little China, as well as Chewie Hawks, The Swordsman, and Zoo Warriors. The game was developed using a camcorder John Tobias had and was tested in the Midway offices halfway through development between 1991 and 1992. However, the name of the game was chosen later in development, as the suggested names like Dragon Attack or Death Blow was not liked. Now, the official origin of the name is a bit sketchy, considering that Ed Boon and John Tobias recalls this differently. Either way, we got a name that is recognizable and to this day is iconic. The game had an arcade ladder mode where you had to fight your way up in order to win, which consisted of 6 matches against your opponent, a mirror match, 3 endurance matches, which had you competing against 2 opponents per match, the sub-boss, and eventually the final boss. After a certain number of matches, you were also able to play a minigame called Test Your Might, where you had to break certain objects within a time limit. The overall fighting system was basic, but each playable character had their own set of special moves and fatalities, and the game had its first iteration of a stage fatality at the pit stage. Speaking of the pit, this stage also had an integral part in order to reach a secret character that was also featured within the game. Initially, the game had 6 characters, all male, but after the team was given more time to develop the game, an additional female character was included. The roster consists of Johnny Cage, a parody character of Jean-Claude Van Damme that was included after the failed negotiation to add him to the game. Johnny was basically this narcissistic Hollywood actor wanting to prove himself at the Mortal Kombat tournament. Then we have Kano, who was a criminal from the Black Dragon organization, Liu Kang, a former member of the White Lotus Society, who enters the tournament representing the Shaolin temples, Raiden, who was a thunder god competing in the tournament. We also have Scorpion, who was an undead ninja who was murdered and is seeking revenge. Sub-Zero is a member of the Lin Kuei clan of assassins and a blue palette swap of Scorpion, as well as Sonya Blade, a special forces agent who is pursuing Kano. Unplayable characters included the sub-boss Goro, a half-human, half-dragon beast with 4 arms, the main boss who is Shang Shang Tsung, an evil sorcerer with the ability to transform into any character, and the secret character Reptile, who has both moves from Sub-Zero and Scorpion and is a green palette swap of Scorpion, but in order to fight him you had to meet certain requirements. Now onto storyline, where I'm a bit confused on the continuity of the story, considering that it was expanded upon in the collector's edition comic book based on Mortal Kombat that was made by John Tobias, because it does seem like there were retcons later on in the series and some characters that were introduced were never explored further down the line. Mortal Kombat was originally a Shaolin tournament for the martial arts and people across the world could participate. However, things took a turn once Shang Tsung took part and won the tournament, as with each victory achieved, he took the life of his opponents and their souls to appease the gods who have cursed him to age prematurely. The only person that was capable of defeating Shang Tsung was someone named Kung Lao, and we've only seen him recently in the Mortal Kombat 11 ending. Many years later though, Shang returned to the tournament aged and weakened, but with his former pupil from Outworld, Goro, who unfortunately then defeated Kung Lao and marked the beginning of the corrupt tournament overseen by Shang, which kept him immortal by the consumption of the souls of all defeated warriors. 500 years later, the Shaolin granted Liu Kang permission to join the tournament to reclaim and restore the integrity of the tournament. The Thunder God Raiden was personally invited by Shang Tsung to participate and was this arrogant and egotistical being that was never portrayed later in the series. Some might say that Dark Raiden was similar to this version, but I disagree. Dark Raiden did anything to protect Earthrealm no matter the consequence. This Raiden however thinks little of the inhabitants of Earthrealm and the tournament. My assumption is that he's just there to have fun and beat everyone. Meanwhile, a ship in Hong Kong made its way to Shang Tsung's island with all the combatants including Johnny Cage, Liu Kang and Kano. Prior to this though, Kano was being chased by the Special Forces as the Black Dragon plans to invade the island and steal anything valuable. Also, there was this guy working with Kano that looked suspiciously like Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat 3 but was never elaborated on further in the series. After Kano makes his getaway, Sonya with some Special Forces agents follow the ship to the island. This is also where Sub-Zero and Scorpion makes an appearance, where it is revealed that Scorpion was murdered 2 years before and he is out for revenge and setting his eyes on Sub-Zero for his eventual demise. A day after arriving on the island, Sonya and her team is captured and she is forced to compete in the tournament to save them all. And then the tournament begins. It is also revealed in the comic book that Liu Kang had a brother who is missing, Sonya had a twin brother who died, Kano was not Australian but orphaned by an American woman in Tokyo, Johnny Cage had a wife named Cindy Ford but they divorced, and by the way his name is John Carlton, and he had a sister named Rebecca. At the time of the game's release, it was praised for the graphics and found much success even though there was controversy regarding the violent nature of the game. It was eventually ported to home consoles after the successful advertising campaign of Mortal Monday, which also featured the iconic Mortal Kombat scream that was used in future Mortal Kombat movies. Midway Games then proceeded with development of the second installment within the series, which I'll explore in a future video. It must be said that I unfortunately had to experience this very game many years later, and at first I didn't even recognize what I saw, even though I played Mortal Kombat 2 on my uncle's Sega Genesis, so I don't know what was going on in my mind, but yeah. Anyway, that concludes this week's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it, as I'm speaking about an hour before this video is actually supposed to be posted live on my channel. I am sleep deprived. I've been editing all day because this whole week I had to do research on this video. I didn't expect it to go in this I don't know what to call it, because research wise there was a lot. This video has a lot. This video is longer than the rest I did previously. I do hope by the next video things will go smoothly and I do not go crazy.